This is Hank from the Wildflower Bee Farm. This is your podcast for April 15th, 2021. So I had some extra audiobooks credits, so I downloaded a book by Thomas Seeley, The Lives of Bees. And that motivated me to go have a look at Zeidler hives. And that led me to notice there was a knothole in this huge pine tree facing south. So I thought, what the heck, I'm going to build a Zeidler hive, a living hive in this tree. So I started digging around and cleared it out. And it was actually had been used in the past, apparently, by squirrels. So what I did was started digging around inside, and the hollow goes all the way up into the midline of this living maple tree. So I cleared out as much as I could, and then I got to work, because the challenge is you have to cover the entry. It's not high up in the trees, and because of my age, there's no way I'm going to put a scaffold and go up 20 feet and start messing with the chainsaw. So I squared it up, and I took some other logs and cut them to try to sort of put a natural finish to this entryway. And you're going to see now I have absolutely no skills, so none whatsoever. Although I've used a chainsaw in a fruit orchard for many years, but this was different. So this is what I ended up with. You can see I put a hole in this little piece of plywood, and I will be eventually putting a little piece of some log on top of there just to keep it, secure, but I covered it all up so you can't even tell when you look at it that there was a knothole. I put some comb from a hive, one of the old hives in there, so there's some honeycomb in there and a great smell. I'll put some lemongrass oil in there as well. And I'm hoping that a hive will decide to move in. So I got really motivated. I thought, I'm going to build a real Zeidler hive in another tree without a knothole, making the entire cavity myself. So I started with this huge willow tree, and with my chainsaw, I just cut sort of a mark. Now this is where I was going to start. Now I have only a chainsaw and a small wooden chisel that I found that my dad used to use. So I don't have any of the usual Zeidler technique types of chisels. And if you look it up, there's some great videos, a few of them anyway, on YouTube. So I started with the chainsaw, and this was the next step. You can see, getting there, quite an entranceway. And then what I had to do is use the chisel and chisel away at the different parts that I sort of opened up with my chainsaw. And was able to do that, and you're going to see the finish just before I finally did some sanding, and you can see I cut out all the... Now there's a lot of ridges there for the bees to put in propolis and so on, and it's not perfect, but I don't think anything in nature would be perfect. And now I'm going to show you. Now it's going to look a little funny because I left some minor little cracks for them to propolize, but I wanted to make it as airtight as possible. It's very difficult because trees aren't actually built to be airtight when you start cutting the entranceways. And you can see I've got some little pieces of wood in there screwed in, and everything's all tight. I also have a bottom section that I can take out with 2 screws, because what I did is I put inside this hive a temperature humidity sensor. So the first time, I think, in world history, we're going to be monitoring. Now you can see the entrance well below here. See the entrance that I cut where the bees will be able to get in. It's not high up. It's probably, I would say, 3 or 4, 5 feet off the ground. There's the entranceway. A bit rough, but that's my Zeidler hive in the living willow. Now, an interesting sideline. When I looked at it this morning, the outside temperature was 0. There's nothing living in this hive. The internal temperature of this willow live hive is 7 degrees. So it maintained the temperature from yesterday just because of the natural tree properties. So can you imagine when a bee swarm hopefully moves in, what's going to happen with their ability to manage temperature? So I've put in a large piece of comb, and I'll be adding some lemongrass as well, and we will keep track of the temperature. But I have a feeling that should a swarm choose to move in, they're going to have a great life. So I do some research, have a look, watch some other videos of Zeidler hives. Now, if you go ahead and do it, be careful, because in my case, I was using a chainsaw. and a chisel. I'm going to build 1 or 2 a year, and eventually on the property have perhaps 10 or 15 of them, because I think with our clover and our wildflowers, there'll be ample food and pollen for them to be able to prosper. So on the farm now, we have the traditional Langstroth hives, we have top bar hives, we have log hives that are made outside of a tree from dead wood and put onto a tree as a log hanging. We have a swarm in one of those. And now we have what I call the willow living hive and the maple willing hive. And we'll keep you apprised of their process and progress. I'm Hank from the Wildflower Bee Farm. You have an amazing day. Talk soon.